Most gardeners are painfully slow at building real soil because they are obsessed with compost piles instead of humus formation. They keep turning heaps, chasing perfect green to brown ratios, waiting months for finished compost while their beds remain biologically weak, moisture unstable, and nutrient inefficient. Plants grow, but they never reach their real potential. Water disappears too quickly. Fertility constantly needs replacing. The hard truth is that compost piles are often the longest route to stable soil. Humus forms fastest when decomposition happens exactly where roots and microbes already live. And, honestly, one of the most powerful ways to trigger that process is using cardboard correctly inside the soil itself, not stacked off to the side in a compost heap. This cardboard soil method consistently builds humus faster because it turns your garden bed into an active decomposition system instead of a storage area waiting for compost. The exact cardboard type that breaks down fastest actually matters more than most gardeners realize. Not all cardboard behaves the same in soil. Thick double-wall shipping boxes, wax-coated packaging, glossy printed cartons, and heavily dyed materials slow microbial colonization dramatically. The cardboard that disappears fastest is plain brown corrugated cardboard with exposed fluted layers and minimal ink. Standard single-layer shipping boxes work best, especially those that tear easily once wet. The reason is structural. Corrugated cardboard contains air channels between fiber layers. Those channels trap moisture and oxygen simultaneously, creating ideal fungal habitat. Microbes penetrate from multiple directions instead of attacking a dense, compressed sheet. Remove all tape, labels, staples, and glossy coatings. If water beads on the surface, it will decompose slowly. If water absorbs immediately, microbes will move in fast. When soaked and torn into palm-sized fragments, this type of cardboard can begin structural collapse in as little as 3 weeks under warm soil conditions. The secret microbial activator formula, well, it's what really turns cardboard into humus rapidly. Cardboard alone is, pretty carbon heavy. Microbes actually need nitrogen and minerals to convert all that carbon into stable humus, instead of just temporarily locking nutrients away. The fastest activation mix I've tested combines soaked cardboard with what I call a living nitrogen solution. In a standard 20-liter bucket, you'll want to fill it halfway with water, then add about 2 handfuls of fresh grass clippings or green weeds, 1 shovel of finished compost or worm castings, and about half a cup of molasses or really any simple sugar source. Let this sit for 24 hours. This creates a dense microbial inoculant that's just full of bacteria, fungi, and protozoa already in feeding mode. Soak shredded cardboard directly in this solution before burying it. The fibers absorb microbes and nutrients, which means decomposition starts immediately, instead of waiting for colonization. In warm soil, fungal threads can begin spreading within just a few days. Layering cardboard correctly, well, it actually creates a living humus factory underground. Most gardeners either bury cardboard randomly or just leave it flat on top, but neither approach really maximizes biological activity. The goal here is to create alternating energy zones that microbes and worms continuously cycle through. In a raised bed or garden row, start by loosening the soil to about 15 centimeters deep. Lay a thin layer of soaked cardboard fragments, around 3 to 5 centimeters thick. Over that, add a nitrogen layer, like grass clippings, manure, kitchen scraps, or green pruning waste. Then just add a light covering of existing soil before repeating once more, if depth allows. You're essentially building a slow-release biological reactor underground. Carbon feeds fungi. Nitrogen feeds bacteria. Soil introduces minerals. Moisture stabilizes activity. Within weeks, microbial populations really explode, because food sources exist in balanced proximity rather than isolated piles. This method transforms a static bed into a continuous humus-producing system. So, why does this method outperform compost piles in both speed and quality? Well, traditional compost loses energy constantly. Heat escapes, nutrients volatilize, and rain leaches minerals away. After all that, the finished compost still has to be transported back into your beds, where honestly, microbes must re-establish themselves all over again. But here, nothing leaves the system. Roots grow directly into decomposition zones, and microbial waste products immediately bind to surrounding soil particles. Nutrients stabilize instead of cycling out. In side-by-side comparisons, beds using integrated cardboard humus zones consistently develop darker soil structure months before compost-amended beds reach the same condition. Moisture retention improves faster, soil aggregation forms sooner, and fertility remains longer. Basically, you're eliminating unnecessary steps and, just letting biology work continuously. Let's talk about how worms transform cardboard into pure plant gold. Once cardboard begins fungal breakdown, earthworms arrive naturally. Fungi soften fibers, making them digestible to worms. These worms consume partially decomposed cardboard along with microbes, then excrete castings rich in stabilized nutrients and microbial enzymes. This process is critical because worm castings are already biologically refined humus precursors. In beds where cardboard layers were installed correctly, worm populations often doubled within a single season. You start finding worm channels running vertically through former cardboard zones, and those tunnels increase aeration, drainage, and root penetration simultaneously. What began as waste material becomes a permanent soil improvement engine, driven by worms themselves. So, when and how can you plant directly into the humus zone? One concern gardeners have is whether planting can happen immediately. If nitrogen balance was added correctly, planting can begin within 2 to 3 weeks after installation. The key indicator is temperature and smell. If soil smells earthy and neutral rather than sour, decomposition is stable. For transplants, just open a small pocket through the upper soil layer and plant normally. Roots quickly detect microbial richness below and grow aggressively downward. Heavy feeders like tomatoes, squash, maize, and brassicas respond especially well because their roots tap directly into active nutrient cycling zones. Seed sowing works best once the top layer settles slightly, usually after irrigation or rainfall compresses the surface naturally. Roots then grow into what is essentially a self-feeding humus reservoir. Here's a step-by-step demonstration you can copy immediately. Start with plain brown corrugated cardboard and remove all non-paper materials. Soak it thoroughly until it's flexible. Tear it into small pieces, roughly the size of your hand. Prepare the microbial activator using water, green plant material, compost or worm castings, and a sugar source. Let it activate for 1 day, then soak the cardboard inside it. Loosen your garden bed soil to spade depth. Spread a thin layer of activated cardboard fragments across the surface. Add an equal volume of nitrogen-rich material on top. Cover lightly with soil and water deeply. Apply mulch over the bed to maintain moisture. Within weeks, fungi colonize the carbon. Worms follow. Soil structure begins shifting from compact particles into stable aggregates. Within months, the cardboard disappears completely, replaced by dark humus integrated directly into root zones. This is not theoretical gardening. It is observable transformation. The long-term advantage is resilience, not just growth. After repeated cycles, soil becomes forgiving. Missed watering events cause less stress. Nutrient fluctuations stabilize naturally. Roots penetrate deeper with less resistance. Plants grown in humus-rich soil regulate themselves better, which quietly reduces pest pressure and disease susceptibility. Healthy soil removes problems before they appear. That is the real objective of serious gardening. If there is one takeaway from this video, it is this: humus formation, not compost production, determines long-term soil success. Properly activated cardboard allows you to build that humus faster, using materials already available every week. Try this method in one section of your garden and compare results against your normal routine. The improvement in moisture retention, plant vigor, and soil texture becomes obvious quickly. If you want more practical methods that genuinely improve how food grows, subscribe to Gardening Simplified. Share this with another grower ready to move beyond slow compost systems and keep building soil that works harder every season.